ready to go there, John? I'm waiting for this to flip over to 60 and we're gonna go. 59.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Can I call the meeting to order, please? I'd like to say welcome to the September 5th meeting of the St. John City Council, bumping to Tuesday this week due to the Labor Day holiday on Monday. And we're going to start this evening with a land acknowledgement, and Councillor Greg Stewart is going to read that this evening for us. Councillor Stewart, over to you.
The land on which the city of St. John, Mennequest is situated is the traditional territory of the Lewistawake. The Lewistawake, along with their indigenous neighbors, the Mi'kmaq and the Pescatomakate, signed peace and friendship treaties with the British Crown in the 1700s that protected their rights to lands and resources.
Let us take a few seconds to reflect. Can I ask everyone to please stand for the national anthem? I can't carry a tune in a bucket, as they used to say, so I could not jump in and save the day there, but thanks to the team that did. So what I'm going to read to you now, we've agreed as a council that it would be helpful to state at the beginning of each of our meetings, our commitment to our constituents, to each other, and relating to our culture, our strategic focus, and our governance. And I'd like to make that statement now to remind everyone that I will chair the meeting in accordance with these commitments. For culture, We are committed to demonstrating respect for and listening to understand the perspectives and interests of other members of council, of staff, and of stakeholders. We recognize and respect the leadership role of the mayor and committee chairs. We come to meetings prepared. We've read our kit and we're ready to engage, to communicate, to listen, to promote trust in our dealings with each other and for council. We are committed to working well together, hard on issues, but not hard on people. We will do our work without politics or performative behavior. For strategic focus, we will approach our work with a strategic focus. Our work will be grounded in the excellent and comprehensive strategic plans that are based on broad stakeholder engagement. Our decisions will be data-based and thoughtful. We are committed to good governance as well and to continuous governance improvement. We will focus on fulfilling our governance roles in strategic planning and oversight, fiscal sustainability, and the effective management of risk for our citizens. Okay, City Clerk, over to you. Next item, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Next item is item 2.1. It's approval of minutes of August 21st.
Minutes of August 21. Councillor Stewart and the deputy on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Next item, City Clerk.
Next is item 3, approval of the agenda, and we have 2 additions from Committee of the Whole. The first one would be 17.1. That's a recommendation for sale of industrial park land, and 17.2, a Committee of the Whole recommendation with respect to CMHC contribution agreement.
Okay, I will need a mover and a seconder for that. Councillor Ogden and the deputy on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Next item.
Next is disclosures of conflict of interest, if you have any.
Seeing none, moving on. Next item.
Next is the consent agenda.
Deputy, over to you for the consent agenda, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would move 5.1.
Take a seconder on that. Councillor Sullivan on the question. Any question on the question? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Next item.
Next item is number 6 on the agenda, members' comments.
Members' comments. Councillor Radwan and the deputy.
Thank you, Mayor. There's been lots going on in St. John this last week, but I want to talk about what's coming up. We actually have, I've been invited to a grand reopening of part of the Superstore on the east side at 7 a.m. this Thursday, the 7th of September. It's in conjunction with the Newcomers Center. So what they're doing is they're actually growing their international food section to try to accommodate our new residents in St. John, which I think is great. Congratulations to them for stepping up to do that. I think it'll probably be quite profitable too, so that's great. We also have the Artist in Residence is actually going to be showcasing at the Art Center on, I forget the date actually, isn't that terrible?
This Friday.
Is Friday, yes. Thank you, Mayor. From 5 till 7, they're showcasing art about the port. So I think that'll be fun and interesting. And I also was asked to make mention the Arab Association is putting on a few free events this month. One is on September the 16th. Actually, they're both at September the 16th. They're free events. One is at 1 o'clock, showcasing Arabic calligraphy. And Arabic calligraphy is really, really beautiful. So that would be interesting to go to. As well, they have an event the same day, and they're both at the St. John Public Library uptown. This one's at 3 p.m., and it's on letters and melodies in Arabic. So anyway, so anybody's welcome to attend. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Deputy, over to you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Well, today marked the first day of back to school for all the kids in St. John area. And I just want to say that, we got to remember to slow down on school days, all days really, but I mean, especially when those kids are going back and forth, keep an eye out on them and let's take care of them. And I also want to take the opportunity to congratulate my wife, who's been married for 41 years, as Labor Day. Yeah, she did a good job. So I know it's a labor of love, but I just wanted to say congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy. We've got her medal sitting out back here. We're going to deliver it to her. Councillor Hickey, over to you next.
Thank you, Your Worship. The deputy is certainly redefining what Labor Day means. Yesterday was good to join the Labor Day parade through Rockwood Park. Good to celebrate St. John's significant labor history and certainly labor future as we see a lot of growth on the horizon. We also celebrated Moonlight Bazaar on the weekend after being rescheduled. I'm not sure what the final tally is. I would guess somewhere around 15 to 20,000 people were there at my count. Certainly bumped into the mayor, and we remarked that we didn't know very many people there, which means there were a heck of a lot of new people exploring uptown and taking in the sights, which was pretty great. I was also able to, weekend prior, attend Prude's graduation for their Young Ambassadors Leadership Initiative. So 20-odd graduates from their 11-week program, teaching them all about leadership skills and being young leaders in our community and in their organization as well, which is pretty special. Lots of great stories there. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Sullivan, over to you.
Thanks, Your Worship. I think it was such a big event, it's worth mentioning twice. I was going to talk about Moonlight Bazaar and that fantastic festival, but you pile on top of that Fundy Fringe Festival, pile on top of that Third Shift and their work uptown. Just thank you to all of the folks who put all these things together. Uptown St. John is just, in 506. Like, by the time you add all the weekends together, where else would you be in Atlantic Canada but St. John? And every time we go uptown, we go by a few more bricks in the floor, another piece of the Market Slip development. You know, we're going to be skating soon. And think about those festivals that we've got going on now that are fantastic and superimposed on what's going to be at Market Square come this time next year. St. John is growing. St. John is vibrant. Just thank you to everybody involved with those projects.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor. That was a nice reminder of all the work that goes into a lot of these events. There's a lot of planning. There's a lot of paperwork for people that are doing it. So we really appreciate it. We'd like to see more happening, and we're very supportive of it. All right, Councillor Norton, over to you.
Your Worship, everything that's been said, absolutely, and then some. Lots going on. Summer's not over yet, so still maybe a few days left to grab some beach weather, although lifeguards have been pulled. But Dominion Park has a new accessibility ramp right from the top of the beach all the way down to the water. So those with mobility disabilities looking to take advantage of the park, that's a new year-round installation that will be on that beach, allowing all to enjoy the beautiful sandscapes that are there at Dominion Park. So congratulations to the organizers and the funders. And now that's up to make our community that much more inclusive and accessible. So thank you, Your Worship, for the time.
Thank you. I will just briefly add on to what Councillor Radwan said in regards to the artist in residence. It's Fred Harrison. He'll be at the St. John Arts Centre this Friday night, 5 until 7. It's sponsored by the Port of St. John. Last year's artist in residence was Sarah Sackville, I believe, and it was a fantastic show. So if you have a chance to get up there on Friday, it'd be great for them. And if not, the exhibition will be up for the next couple of months, I believe. All right, thank you. Next item, City Clerk.
Next, we have a number of proclamations, Your Worship. The first one is item 7.1 on your agenda, and this is a proclamation for Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Disorder month of September 2023.
Whereas fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, FASD, is a diagnostic term used to describe impacts on the brain and body of individuals prenatally exposed to alcohol. FASD is a lifelong disability. Individuals with FASD will experience some degree of challenges in their daily living and will need support with motor skills, physical health, learning, memory, attention, communication, emotional regulation, and social skills to reach their full potential. Each individual with FASD is unique and has areas of both strengths and challenges. And whereas FASD NL, Newfoundland, is a pan-provincial organization that educates, provides supports and resources, and raises awareness about fetal alcohol spectrum disorder in Newfoundland and Labrador and Atlantic Canada. And whereas FASD-NL is leading a 3-year preventative awareness training and collaborative action project in the 4 Atlantic provinces. And whereas FASD Awareness Month is devoted to raising awareness of fetal alcohol spectrum disorder to improve prevention of FASD, diagnosis and support for individuals with FASD, and broad public awareness to help put FASD on the map. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Donna Node-Reardon of St. John, do hereby declare the month of September 23rd as FASD Awareness Month in the city of St. John. Next item, City Clerk.
Next proclamation is item 7.2. This is with respect to Living Donation Week, September 10 to 16.
Okay, thank you. Whereas Living Organ Donation offers a shorter pathway to better health for many awaiting for kidney or liver transplants, but not enough Canadians know about this life-saving option. And whereas the Center for Living Organ Donation raises awareness, provides support, promotes research, and offers hope to thousands of Canadians waiting for a transplant, and supports everyone who wants to be part of their future. And whereas Living Donation Week raises awareness of living organ donation and pays tribute to the life-saving gifts of living organ donors and the incredible resilience of transplant recipients. And whereas Living Donation Week will give hope to those who are currently waiting for transplants and celebrate the strength and resilience of transplant recipients, living donors and caregivers, and the dedicated transplant teams who make it all possible. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Donna Node-Reardon of St. John, do hereby proclaim September 10th to 16th, 2023, as Living Donation Week in the city of St. John. And before I move on, I just want to say thanks to, I've got Michelle McDade up in the audience with us here tonight, who's also dropped me off some extra information about living kidney donation in the education sessions. So, Michelle, you can go on the website there to find out about that if anyone's interested in following up on that. Thank you for being here this evening. Okay, City Clerk, next item.
Next proclamation is 7.3. It's for Arthritis Awareness Month, September 2023, and World Arthritis Day, October 12th.
Whereas community support has been critical throughout the Arthritis Society Canada's 75-year history, enabling the organization to fulfill its mission to fight the fire of arthritis with cutting-edge research, bold innovation, fiery advocacy, and evidence-based information and patient-centric support. And whereas arthritis is not just arthritis, arthritis is serious. It causes debilitating pain, restricts mobility, diminishes quality of life. 6 million Canadians, or 1 in 5, live every day with the fire of arthritis and the pain, and there is no cure. Without a greater spotlight on this growing issue, the number of Canadians with arthritis will rise to 9 million by 2024. And whereas during Arthritis Awareness Month this September, we seek to raise voices and awareness and encourage everyone who lives with arthritis and all those who know and love them to fight the fire of arthritis. And whereas the Arthritis Society of Canada is Canada's national charity dedicated to extinguishing arthritis for good, now therefore I, Mayor Donna Node-Reardon of St. John, do hereby declare the month of September 2023 as Arthritis Awareness Month and October 12th, 2023 as World Arthritis Day in the city of St. John. Next item, City Clerk. Oh, sorry, Councillor Ogden?
I just wanted to go back to the organ and tissue donations. I'd like to thank Mrs. McPhee and Mrs. McDade for coming here tonight. Sometimes sitting listening to us can be a little boring, and they've been sitting here for a while. I just want to thank them both for coming here tonight.
Thank you, Councillor. Next, City Clerk, next item.
We are a little early to start the public
Okay.
hearing at 6:30, so we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is 10.1, and this is a zoning bylaw amendment and a rescission of previous section 39 and 59 conditions and section 59 condition at 384 Lancaster Avenue.
Thank you. So I'm passing this over to our acting commissioner, Amy Poffenroth. Over to you, Amy.
Your Worship and members of council, before you this evening for third reading is a rezoning application which was submitted by Paul Chu for the property located at 384 Lancaster Avenue. This application seeks to rezone the property from business park commercial to general commercial to enable the property to be used for general retail. The application received first and second reading on August 21st, following the required public hearing, and I can confirm that all legislative requirements of the Community Planning Act have been met, and the item is now before you to move forward with third reading.
Thank you. Okay, City Clerk, over to you for the motions that we need this evening.
Thank you, Your Worship. This item requires 4 separate motions. The first one's to approve third reading in its entirety.
Approve Councillor Sullivan and Councillor Stewart on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
A law to amend the zoning bylaw of the City of St. John. The zoning bylaw of the City of St. John enacted on the 15th day of December 2014 is amended by amending Schedule A, the zoning map of the City of St. John by rezoning a parcel of land having an area of approximately 7,634 square meters located at 384 Lancaster Avenue, also identified as PID number 003864666, from business park commercial to general commercial pursuant to a resolution adopted by Common Council under Section 59 of the Community Planning Act. Next, we require a motion to rescind the previous Section 39 conditions.
Rescind Councillor Sullivan and Councillor Stewart on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
Next is approval of new Section 59
Approval of new
conditions.
Section 59's deputy and Councillor Radwan on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
And lastly, approval third reading by title.
Third reading by title, deputy and Councillor Stewart on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
A law to amend the zoning bylaw of the City of St. John.
Okay, next item, City Clerk.
Next is 12.1. It's an update from the Chief Administrative Officer on select catalytic projects and advocacy.
Over to you, CAO.
Good evening, Your Worship. I'll be brief this evening, given just a couple of weeks ago, I provided a detailed update due to our summer council schedule. That was on August 21st. And so the one new update, the city team continues to advance council's priority on affordable housing. The update this evening relates specifically to the Rapid Housing Initiative known as the Barrack Green Residences, a project by Kaleidoscope Social Impact. That project, with council's approval this evening, later on the agenda, will be one step closer to the building new affordable units in the city. So in total, the project will create 39 much-needed affordable housing units at 67 Broadview Street, St. John. The project design is underway. Project construction will be getting underway in the coming weeks, and project is expected to be completed in November 2024. With that, Your Worship, that concludes my verbal update.
Thank you. I'll need a motion to receive for information. The deputy and Councillor Ogden on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Next item, City Clerk.
Next on the agenda under general correspondence, item 15.1. It's a letter regarding regulation of taxi cabs. There is a staff recommendation to refer this to the Chief Administrative Officer for follow-up.
Okay, I'll take the deputy and Councillor Hickey. Councillor Lowe, over to you for a comment or question.
Yeah, my comment would be the taxi bylaw states that the shortest distance between 2 points is what the taxi fare should be. And going to the airport by the highway is not the shortest distance, right? I believe that we need more bylaw enforcement of the taxi bylaw. There's very little done now, and I would strongly suggest that we do a fare of $40 to go to the airport, and from the airport, and you go whatever way you want to go. Simple. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor, and you're on the Transit Commission. Can connect with the team over there on working on that. Thank you. So on the question, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Next item. City Clerk?
Next is item 15.2, a letter from Canadian Institute of Forestry requesting a proclamation. Recommendation is to refer to the clerk's office to prepare the proclamation.
I'll take the Deputy and Councillor Radwan on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Next item, City Clerk?
Next is a letter from T. Cook requesting to present regarding Cherrybrook Zoo equipment and enclosures. There's a recommendation to refer it to the CAO for follow-up.
All right. The Deputy and Councillor Sullivan on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Next item.
Next is a letter from Jay Dobbelstein regarding pedestrian safety. Recommendation is to refer to CAO for follow-up.
Refer to the CAO for follow-up. The Deputy and Councillor Radwan on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Next item.
Next is 15.5, Fundy Region Service Commission submission regarding the 2024 Fundy Region Service Commission budget. There's a recommendation to provide any feedback to FRSC appointee Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Take them over and a seconder on that one. Councillor Radwan and Councillor Norton on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Next item, City Clerk.
Next is 15.6, a letter from Jay Watson regarding Heritage Grants Program. Recommendation is to refer to the Growth Committee.
Refer the request to Growth. Councillor Norton and Councillor Stewart on the question. On the question, Councillor Radwan.
Mayor, thank you. I just wanted to speak to this for a quick second. First of all, thank you to Chair Watson. I sit on Heritage for the sake of the public. It's incredible that we've already had like a maximum amount of applicants this year, but because there were so many delays, I think previously, we didn't get to optimize the heritage grants in previous years. Now, one thing that I did want to mention is that the beautification grant in Uptown St. John is supposed to end this year. So this is one way to invest in Uptown. And just for council's information, the investment in heritage grants is actually $7 for every $1 spent, which is a great return on investment. I wish I could find that in my personal life to get that sort of ROI. So anyway, just food for thought on that. I just wanted to share that.
I think we'll probably support this, Councillor, so I will call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Next item, City Clerk.
Next item is from Committee of the Whole. It was item 17.1 that was added to your agenda. And this item is for a resolution with respect to the sale of industrial park land. And I have a printout of the wording of this resolution. I'll just read that into the record. So this would read, that the city enter into an agreement of purchase and sale with QCCC Atlantic Training Center in the form as presented to Committee of the Whole at its September 5th, 2023 meeting, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to execute the said agreement of purchase and sale and any documents necessary to effect the transaction.
Thank you. I've got the deputy moving that and Councillor Lowe on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Next item.
And the final item from Committee of the Whole, 17.2, this is with respect to CMHC Rapid Housing Contribution Agreement. The resolution is that the July 24th, 2023 resolution of council relating to CMHC Rapid Housing Contribution Agreement be amended by deleting paragraph 2 of the resolution and replacing it with the following. Subject to the city receiving consent from CMHC for the registering of the necessary mortgages against the project lands and subject to the terms of provincial funding for the project matching those of the CMHC funding, including the 40-year affordability period for the project, that the City of St. John enter into a contribution agreement with Kaleidoscope Social Impact for a project located at 67 Broadview Street, St. John, New Brunswick, generally in the form as presented to Committee of the Whole at its September 5th, 2023 meeting.
Take a mover on that. The deputy, Councillor Radwan on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Next item, City Clerk.
Okay, and now we're moving over to the public hearings.
Okay.
And I see it's just 6:30 here now on my computer. So the first of the public hearings is item 9.1 on your agenda, and this is a proposed zoning bylaw amendment with Planning Advisory Committee report and staff presentation for 351 Lattimore Lake Road.
Okay, I'm passing this over for the introduction to our Acting Commissioner Poffenroff.
Good evening, Your Worship and members of council. Before you this evening for a public hearing is an application for a rezoning that was submitted by William Cook for the property located at and adjacent to 351 Lattimore Lake Road. The application is seeking to rezone the property from rural residential and rural to integrated development to enable the property to be used for the placement of a mini home and for structures associated with the manufactured dwelling transportation business. The application has been evaluated by staff and the Planning Advisory Committee, and included in your package are recommendations of approval of the rezoning and proposed Section 59 conditions. And now I will turn it over to Mark Reed for the staff presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Council and Your Worship, as Amy said, this is a rezoning application to rezone the site to integrated development. The applicant is proposing to place a mini home dwelling and a personal accessory building on the front portion of the property, and then some additional accessory building or buildings at the rear for their mobile home transportation business. The site is located at the intersection of Likely Road and Lattimore Lake Road. It's roughly about 8.6 hectares in area. The front portion is where the mini home would be located, and then at the rear would be the activities for the mobile home relocation business. This is an air photo of the site. The front portion is currently clear. There was a dwelling unit there torn down probably about 2012 to 2014. The site is approximately 8.6 hectares in area. This is a view here looking from Lattimore Lake Road of the site, just to the rear of the city vehicle. Another view here of the site. A view here, there's an existing driveway from Likely Road into the site. And then in terms of the municipal plan designation, it is designated rural resource at the rear. The front part is designated rural residential. The municipal plan does support commercial activities in these areas, as well as manufactured housing in all areas of the city. So the proposal is in conformity with our municipal plan. In terms of zoning, the rear portion in the light green is zoned rural. The small portion at the front is zoned rural residential. Staff are proposing to rezone the site to integrated development and to allow for the zone development standards through a series of Section 59 conditions. These are based on both the rural mixed residential zone and the rural general commercial zone that provides for some context in the rural area along Lattimore Lake Road. The setbacks would be based on that found in the rural general commercial zone. In terms of permitted uses, staff are proposing to allow for the applicant's specific proposal plus other compatible uses in the RMX and CRG zones. In terms of engagement, we did send letters out to landowners within 100 meters of the site, and tonight's public hearing was also advertised at the city on the city's website. At the PAC meeting, the applicant was present and in agreement with staff recommendation. The committee did receive 2 letters in opposition to the proposal, and we had 2 residents from the area appearing before the committee with concerns regarding the proposal. There is alignment on the PAC and staff recommendation to approve it, subject to a series of Section 59 conditions relating to permitted uses, setbacks, and parking, landscaping, and standards related to outdoor storage. There is also a requirement there for a detailed site plan at the building permit stage. The committee also approved a temporary use application to allow for some bridging, to allow for the applicant to get in there and commence work on the site as soon as possible. Staff are recommending approval of the application to Common Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. Okay, so I will open the public hearing now, and I will ask 3 times if there's anyone here who'd like to speak against it, and then if anyone who would like to speak for the application. So this is zoning, and what we do with this is we look at the site suitability for what is being proposed. So that would be like the impact, is it compatible? What are the roads like? The type of development within the area, the services, what does your plan say? So those are the things that the team will be considering as we go forward. So I'll start and I'll ask if there's anyone here in the audience who would like to speak against the application. Come, sure.
Sure. My name is Phil Nelson. I'm a property owner in the area.
Come down, Phil, and as they say, come on down.
I was just looking for some information, like more than anything.
So give us your name again, Phil, sorry. And where
Philip
you-
Nelson.
Philip Nelson. And where are you?
I own both sides of the Likely Pit Road coming up
Okay,
to that section. Now, I'm in the rural segment. My property is considered rural, so I can't put any more houses on it, so to speak. I'm kind of surprised the access for that property, the small property at the end, was always off of the bypass road, not off the Likely Pit Road, so to speak. The driveway was on that end. They've never used, to my knowledge, they've never used the driveway from the Likely Pit Road into that property. It looks like the only reason they've got that property is to gain an entrance into that secondary piece of property. I'm wondering how much traffic's going to be on that. Secondarily, all the tenants of the Likely Pit Road have access to that road written into their deeds. I'm wondering if that's written into this particular deed and the purpose of extending it onto the other property is capable to be done legally that way. And if what's good for the goose is good for the gander, if you're going to rezone that one, why couldn't I rezone my property back into residential RS1 and 2 like it was originally?
okay, so what we'll do, Mr. Nelson, is that is an opportunity for my team to ask staff questions. So once we hear from everyone for the application or against the application, then the team will have an opportunity to ask staff those questions that you presented. So we'll do
Okay.
that, all right?
That'd be fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'll ask again if there's any, so you have a question for Mr. Nelson? Councilor Redwine has a question for you, Mr. Nelson. Oh, you'll have to speak into this so that, because it's going out on, you're on TV. You're on TV now.
Okay, here we go.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to Mr. Nelson. I'm a little confused, so just wondering, what are you zoned as?
Rural.
Rural.
Rural residential?
Rural residential.
Okay, so not R1 or R2.
It was R1 and R2, but when
Okay.
the city did the big rezoning, they took my property and turned it into rural. So I'm kind of surprised to see that somebody can change the designation back
Okay, and you're on both sides of this property?
of that Likely Pit Road.
Okay, thank you,
Well,
Mr.
up
Nelson.
to that little piece at the end there, yeah.
Okay, thank
Any
you.
other questions?
That's it. Thank you. Oh, wait a minute, I do have Councilor Sullivan, sorry.
Thanks, Your Worship. Just to provide some unsolicited advice, just because it probably won't take place with the public hearing itself as your property, but the 3 folks sitting in the front row over your right shoulder are experts in zoning. So if, at the end of this, if you wanted to ask about your own property and you were interested in something with rezoning, they would be great people to ask.
Sure.
That's it, thank you. That's it, thank you.
Okay, everybody good?
All good.
All right.
All right, so I will ask again if there's anyone here who would like to speak against the application. I'll ask for a third time if there's anyone here who would like to speak against the application. All right, so I'll ask now if there's anyone here who would like to speak in favor of the application at 384 Lancaster, at 351 Latimer Lake Road. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of the application at 351 Latimer Lake Road? And I'll ask for the third time if there's anyone here who would like to speak in favor of the application presented this evening. Okay, so I will now close the public hearing, and I will ask my team if they have any questions for staff. Councillor Lowe, over to you first.
Yeah, at PAC, the party that came to speak about it worried about the noise that this operation might give. But what I want to make it clear, and they made it clear at PAC, that these people this operation came from Oakland Street, and next door was a daycare center. And that was emphasized at the PAC.
Sounds good. Thank you. Counselor Hickey?
Thanks, Your Worship. I was just hoping staff, through you to maybe Mark, could answer some of Mr. Nelson's questions, or the ones that you were able to catch.
Yeah, I guess first question is traffic. It's fairly limited traffic, and the applicant's here this evening tonight, so he can provide some insight on his business. Typically, there are some, I believe it's 2 trucks involved in the business, but a lot of the time is those trucks are off-site, like they'd only be there on the weekend, and then they would go to the site where the mobile home is being set up. The other traffic would be, no more traffic than a house related to the manufactured dwelling. The question around the deeded access through the Likely Road, that's an interesting question. Don't have an answer for that. But one of the things is this lot is a corner lot, so it also has frontage on Latimer Lake Road, should that prove an issue, that, they still have access from a defined public street.
Thank you. Counselor Radwan?
Thank you, Mayor. So I had a couple of questions for the applicant, but they're not here. So
The applicant is in attendance.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you don't know, then maybe I could ask. I'm just wondering if trees would be put in to help mitigate, like I know the concerns in the letters were mostly about noise and any potential flooding. I know there's different options, put in fencing or trees. Trees are probably something that would more help mitigate noise and potential flooding. So have you had conversations about that?
We have had some preliminary conversations with the developer, and I'm just looking at the air photo now. If I could bring that up, that might help explain things a bit better. There is... The commercial uses would go in the rear portion that is treed, so that gives them the opportunity for additional tree retention, basically to provide a buffer between the existing house that's to the east on Latimer Lake Road and then the one further to the north on Likely Road. So they have some flexibility in the site and in the placement of those buildings, and that's that's one of the reasons we had the condition in there for that site plan, that we can work through those finer details with the applicant with respect to buffering and tree retention.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to kind of buffer all of that. It would make residents feel like it's not even there, potentially. So that's a great way. Do we have any idea when it would start and finish? Because there is a lot of houses in the area.
I think there is also a land transaction going on with the applicant and the city, and I believe there's some timing that's tied into that as well. But with the temporary approval from PAC, if these folks had comfort tonight, they could come in and, start the process for a permit tomorrow or anytime.
So I just want to mention, Mayor, if I can, like I've had conversations with CAO before. If we had, and we don't currently have, like a big ask for grant money for a lot of trees, this is a great example of how we could hand over some trees for somebody for development, which could help mitigate concerns for the neighbors when it comes to noise and when it comes to flooding. So anyway, just food for thought in the future. This is a great example of a project that would work really well, which would make it easier, I think, to make these decisions. But anyway, just food for thought anyway. I mean, it's a little more for you guys to do, but.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Sullivan?
Thanks, Your Worship. Just for Council's consideration, following up on Councilor Zo's comments from PAC, we had quite a conversation at PAC, and with regards to noise, I can say that we had a conversation with the applicant, and really the space, the compound itself is for security for their inventory. So there will be some sort of fencing, there will be some sort of buffer, and the amount of sound, as I understand it, is a pickup truck that's going to come and go once in a while. The big trucks are going to be off-site. most of the time at their job sites or parks. So, that's why PAC recommended, they were quite satisfied that the amount of extra noise there will be minimal. And all the evidence we had was in their current site next to the daycare. They're good neighbors. So that's why PAC was satisfied that they'll likely be good neighbors again. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Reed, it looks like that's it for you for questions. So I will send it over to the city clerk for the motions we require for this.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just two motions needed for this: approval of first reading by title and second reading by title.
Councillor Lowe, back to you for question. Okay,
F recommendation.
okay, thank you.
When the
Councillor
gentleman
Lowe is
gets
my mover. Councillor Stewart, my seconder on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
A law to amend the zoning bylaw of the City of St. John.
Okay, and I need a motion to approve reading by title. Councillor Lowe and Councillor Stewart on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
A law to amend the zoning bylaw of the City of St. John.
Next item, City Clerk.
Next is the second public hearing. It's item 9.2 on your agenda, and it's a proposed zoning bylaw amendment with a PAC report and staff recommendation for 50 Macaulay Avenue.
Over to you, Acting Commissioner Poffenroff, for the intro.
Thank you, Your Worship. This evening's second public hearing is for an application for a rezoning that was submitted by James Shador for the property located at 50 Macaulay Avenue. The application is seeking to rezone the property from 1-unit residential to 2-unit residential to enable the conversion of a single-family dwelling into a side-by-side duplex. The application has been evaluated by staff and the Planning Advisory Committee, and included in your package are recommendations of approval of the rezoning, and no Section 59 conditions are being proposed. Now I'll turn it over to Thomas Llewellyn for the staff presentation for this file.
Thank you. As stated, the applicant is seeking to rezone from 1-unit residential to 2-unit residential in order to permit the creation of an additional dwelling unit at 50 Macaulay Avenue. The second dwelling unit will share a common wall with the existing building, and once completed, the property will be constructed in the manner of a side-by-side duplex. The subject site is located in the Milledgeville neighborhood of the city and is currently occupied by a single-family home. The owners are also currently constructing an addition to the existing family home, which is to be converted to an additional dwelling unit following successful rezoning. The broader neighborhood contains various residential building types, with single-family homes, duplexes, and townhomes being the most common housing morphology. The subject property is located within the stable residential designation of the municipal plan. Within areas designated as stable residential, housing of almost every form and density can be found. Both the existing neighborhood context and compatibility with the goals of the municipal plan determines the suitability of the proposed developments with which this project aligns with. The subject site is, again, currently zoned 1-unit residential, which accommodates serviced residential developments in the form of a 1-unit dwelling, and allows for the creation of a second dwelling unit in the form of either a garden suite or a secondary suite. Due to the size of the proposed second unit, it cannot conform with the requirements of the intent of a secondary or garden suite, and therefore, in order to permit the creation of an additional dwelling unit, the property must be rezoned to R2. On July 31st, letters were sent to all property owners within 100 meters of the subject property, and the public notice was posted on August 10th. As of the presentation, only one letter was received from nearby property owners, and it was a clarification. PAC and staff recommendation is to rezone the property from 1-unit residential to 2-unit residential.
Thank you, Mr. Llewellyn. Okay, I will open the public hearing, and I'll ask if there's anyone here this evening who would like to speak against the application at 50 Macaulay Avenue. I'll ask again if there's anyone here who would like to speak against the application. I'll ask for the third time if there's anyone here who would like to speak against the application at 50 Macaulay Avenue. Okay, hearing no one, I will ask if there's anyone here who would like to speak in favor of the application. Anyone here who would like to speak in favor of the application? I'll ask for the third time if there's anyone here who would like to speak in favor of the application at 50 Macaulay Avenue. All right, seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and I'll ask my team if you have any questions for Mr. Llewellyn. Councillor Hickey, over to you.
Thanks, Your Worship. Just a quick one. I guess when I first read this, I had hoped that it would qualify for the secondary or garden suite intention that we had included in some previous changes. But how far out of scope is the size of this one compared to what the size requirements are of that secondary suite?
Yeah, so a secondary suite is around 70 to 75 square meters. I can't remember exactly at this moment. I believe this one is around 120. So it's pretty sizable in that it just wouldn't, and the applicant or the owner itself wasn't willing to shrink it.
Sure.
They're kind of building this duplex in mind with an aging relative. And so this will be occupied primarily by, well, only by them. So they were wanting to do a full duplex.
Would we look at increasing the size of those secondary or garden suite requirements in order to like better fit if people are applying for bigger spaces?
Probably not at this moment, just because at that point it wouldn't be necessarily a secondary suite, it would just be a second dwelling unit. There are size limitations in terms of it being an accessory versus a whole other residential unit.
Sure. Thanks very much.
Okay, that looks like that's it. Appreciate your answer there. For the public, I will mention that what Councillor Hickey said, that you can build a secondary suite of a garden size or a detached or semi-detached granny suite without rezoning. And that's what the councillor is speaking about. This is bigger and so requires rezoning. So I will pass it over to the clerk for the motions that I'll need.
Your Worship, 2 motions needed for this item. First reading by title and second reading by title.
First reading by title, Councillor Lowe and Councillor Radwan on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
A law to amend the zoning bylaw of the City of St. John.
Thank you. And I need approval of second reading by title. Councillor Sullivan and the deputy on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
A law to amend the zoning bylaw of the City of St. John.
Next item, City Clerk.
Next is item 9.3 under public hearings, and it's a proposed zoning bylaw amendment with PAC report and staff presentation for 90 Wilton Street.
Okay, I'm passing this back to our acting commissioner again. Ms. Pofferoff, over to you.
Thank you, Your Worship. This evening's third public hearing is for an application for a rezoning that was submitted by Peter David O'Brien for the property located at 90 Wilton Street. The application is seeking to rezone the property from 2-unit residential to mid-rise residential to legalize a long-standing 7-unit residential building. The application has been evaluated by staff and the Planning Advisory Committee, and included in your package are recommendations of approval of the rezoning. No Section 59 conditions are being proposed, and now I will turn it over to Yeva Matson for the staff presentation.
Thank you and good evening, Your Worship and Council. So this is a proposal to rezone 90 Wilton from 2-unit residential to mid-rise residential to legalize an existing multi-unit building. So the existing building is 7 units and has existed as a multi-unit building for decades. Our records don't go back far enough to confirm for how long, but looking at phone books from the 1970s, there was at least 4 phone numbers and families listed in the building. The building consists of a one-unit bedroom in the basement, 1 3-bedroom unit on the main floor, 2 2-bedroom units on the second, and then a 2-unit and 2 bachelor suites on the top floor. The size meets all requirements for the RM zone, and it can provide for 10 parking spaces. The subject site is located on the St. John east side, just south of Westmoreland Heights area, and the houses in this area were built between the late 1920s and the early 1950s, making it a very well-established neighborhood. While much of the immediate neighborhood is lower density, there is a smattering of RL and RM properties that are very similar in size and building typology as the subject site. The wider area, including Bayside Drive to the west, is characterized by a mixture of land uses with varying residential densities, commercial uses, and community facility uses. Bayside Middle School and Bayview School are within walking distance, as are many commercial businesses, and the site is serviced by 3 different bus routes, 2 that stop right outside the door. In the first image above, you can see the subject site looking from the corner of Wilton and Park. The second picture shows the site looking directly from Wilton, so you can see kind of the front entrance of the building as well as all the separate entrances for the units. The subject site looking from Park Ave, and this shows the parking area as well as the entrance to the basement suite. The building is 4 stories from the rear and 2 stories from the front with ample parking and green space. This is a very common multi-unit building typology found across the city. The site is designated stable residential in a municipal plan, and the density does meet the conforms to the intent of the municipal plan. The site provides identification in the area with existing municipal services, and it's compatible with surrounding land uses, giving the variety of existing building typologies and dwelling types found in the area, including other properties zoned for higher density like this one. The current zone is 2-unit residential, but the area comprises of a variety of residential buildings, including 2-unit, low-rise, and mid-rise, and there's a range of commercial and community zonings. Staff are not recommending any Section 59 conditions, as the size of the lot and the RM standards would restrict the number of units that would be placed on this property should any further development be considered in the future. Even those units that are existing, the applicant would need to apply for a change of use permit, which would allow for a building inspector to confirm everything meets code and all safety regulations. Letters were sent to landowners within 100 meters of the subject site on July 31st, 2023, and a public notice was posted on the city website at the same time. As of this presentation, no letters have been received. PAC and staff are in alignment, and the recommendation is to rezone the site to mid-rise residential to legalize the existing multi-unit building. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mattson. So I will now open the public hearing, and I will ask if there is anyone here who would like to speak against 90 Wilton Street, the application for 90 Wilton Street. I'll ask again if there's anyone here who would like to speak against the application for 90 Wilton. I'll ask for the third time if there's anyone here who would like to speak against 90 Wilton Street. All right, I'll ask if there's anyone here who would like to speak in favor of 90 Wilton. Please come down, give us your name and your address.
Good evening. My name is Don Cullinan. I'm counsel for the applicant, Mr. O'Brien, who's here this evening.
Sure.
And just short and sweet, we're totally in agreement with the staff recommendation. If there's
Excellent.
any questions.
I will ask my team. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Cullinan? Don't see any. You're off the hook for now.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll ask my team if you have any questions for Ms. Mattson, for our planner, for staff. And if not, City Clerk, I'm over to you for the motions we require this evening.
Thank you, Your Worship. 2 motions again for this, first reading by title and second reading by title.
Okay, I need approval for first reading by title. Councillor Lowe and Councillor Hickey on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
A law to amend the zoning bylaw of the City of St. John.
And I need a motion to approve second reading by title. Councillor Sullivan and Councillor Radwan on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
A law to amend the zoning bylaw of the City of St. John.
Thank you. Okay, City Clerk,
That was the final item.
that's
Your
the final
Worship.
item. Over to you, Councillor Lowe, for the motion to adjourn. I'll take a seconder, Councillor Ogden, for you on the question. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, this evening. And I didn't beat my record of 6:55, but I'm close. I think it's 6:57. Thanks, staff.